Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. How are you guys doing today? So about 1.4 billion Africans are pulling out of the global internet right now, and Google, Microsoft and Amazon are literally scampering, right? Because Africans had contributed to all these mega tech companies, right? And Africans had been not included for the longest time in all the monetizations up until like 1 or 2 years back, right? So Africans are now beginning to build their internet, which is called the Afrinet. We all know that these mega tech companies, they've been siphoning a lot of money from Africans through the internet, and they've been monitoring some of their activities in the sense that they do not have full accessibility to some of these internet connections. So guys, I have these videos lined up for you. Take a look and let me know what you think in the comments.
For your phone, perhaps, to check the weather.
Pay attention to this, man. This is crazy. Listen close.
May reshape not just Africa, but the entire digital world. Quietly, without the fanfare of Silicon Valley press releases or glossy Google keynotes, Africa flipped the switch on an internet of its own. For 1.4 billion people, the rules of the game just changed. For decades, Americans and Africans alike have lived under the illusion that the internet was universal, borderless, and fair. But the truth is far less romantic. The web you and I know is not a neutral highway of information. It is a toll road owned and operated by a handful of corporations headquartered in California and Seattle. Google, Amazon, Microsoft, they have been the gatekeepers deciding how fast your search reaches you, how much you pay for access, and what information rises to the top. And Africa, for over 20 years, has been forced to play by those rules. That ends today.
Oh, that's changing.
The African Union has unveiled what it calls the Continental Internet Exchange, a parallel infrastructure built not in the image of Western corporations, but for Africans themselves. It is not simply another internet service provider. It is a digital declaration of independence, the technological equivalent of a revolution. Think about it. When a student in Lagos wants to look up African history, why should their query travel through Europe and back, filtered by algorithms that often bury African voices? Yeah. Why should an entrepreneur in Ouagadougou pay inflated fees to Silicon Valley shareholders for cloud storage when servers could sit in their own city? And now, here is the question we must all ask: what happens when 1 and 1? 4 billion people stop renting space on America's digital highways and begin paying their own. What does it mean for Google, for Washington, for the very idea of a unified internet? Stay with me until the end, because this story is not just about Africa's future, it's about ours. If you believe
Africa just ditched Google and launched its own internet. Back in March, when undersea cable snapped, half the continent went offline. No YouTube, no Instagram, nothing. It was chaos. But instead of waiting for Silicon Valley to fix it, Africa clapped back. Hard. Introducing Afrinet, the continent's first homegrown internet network, built by Africans for Africans. It blocks foreign surveillance, runs on African data centers, and even supports AI in 54 African languages. Forget Google Play. Afrinet has AfriStore, its own app store packed with local apps. Oh, and it's plugged into satellites from China and Russia, not Elon Musk. Meanwhile, Google's scrambling with its Umoja cable to stay relevant. But Africa's already moved on. This isn't just tech. This is digital freedom. Afrinet is
Africa just hit a switcheroo on America. Went completely offline from Google Internet and created their own You hear me? Pulled a switcheroo and now have their own internet that the U.S. government does not have access to, cannot monitor, cannot track, but still has access to do all the same things that we have access to do. And let's not forget to mention, America is like falling economically. And Africa has their own dollar now backed by their gold, no longer subscribing to the US dollar. Yeah, it's time.
Don't even have to do the search anymore. I don't even have to do the research. I just know these are the top 5 people who have the car that I want at the price that I want. That's taking money away from Google. Google is losing billions, and they know it. Why do you think they're investing in AI? Why is all the budget going into AI now? Data centers. Why? Most of us know. Interesting story. I just did a roof inspection for a general contractor who's building data centers out. I don't remember the exact city, but it's above Austin, Waco. That's it. Really good conversation. Shared a lot of information. They're bringing in mini nuclear plants. That's next. So, getting electricity from nuclear, they're building mini nuclear facilities to power these data centers. The data centers that he's building in Waco, and the reason they're building there is there's a huge hospital there. So the electrical grid is already up to par and they can handle a lot of electricity. That was one of the reasons. And number two, the land was really cheap because there's no building out there. There ain't no jobs coming. He said that the data centers will be the size of about 6 or 7 mega Walmarts, the big ones. And he says 10, 15 employees. Once it's all built out, 10, 15 employees can manage that whole area. So it doesn't bring work. But the mini nuclear energy plants that they're talking about, super interesting to me. And I'm going to do more research on that because that's new insider information that nobody's talking about. But because I had a one-on-one conversation with the general contractor for that area, one of them gave me a lot of really good information. And I plan to do what I can with it.
High IQ folks. The meeting that looked like a passive-aggressive hostage situation, because that really was, for all intents and purposes, a hostage situation. Essentially, he's holding the economy by the balls, and so they've come to the king's castle to bend the knee, essentially. And I think it's hilarious that just less than 24 hours after they left, he released a statement about discontinuing the use of offshore resources. Because, when a lot of these companies do their mass layoffs and their firings, it's not because of AI, it's because they're going to go to India or the Philippines and get the resources for a fraction of the cost. But the challenge with that is that that is not how things work in the tech world. But between the tariffs, the chaotic foreign policies, non-existent foreign policy really, 1.3 billion users hopping off of Google search to go onto Africa's latest search engine. As of 3 days ago, Africa launched its own internet exchange with infrastructure built primarily by a partnership between the Chinese government and Huawei. These are all glaring indicators that the US economy is becoming more and more unstable, losing ground in terms of market share. And when it comes to technology, data is the new oil. So when you lose those markets, you essentially lose the race. So they're at the king's castle, bending the knee, which with the Trump administration is never guaranteed to be a winning strategy.
Google and YouTube had better watch out. Here comes a 19-year-old Ghanaian student who has built an online video search engine, and the innovation has now caught the attention of some of the industry's big tech companies. Some critics are calling it the African YouTube. Ghanaian university student Gabriel Opare wanted to build a search engine that could challenge the dominance of Google. He taught himself how to code by taking online courses in his free time. On his quest to rival Google, the world's most popular search engine, Opare developed MadClaw, a free search engine for videos. MadClaw discovers and streams videos from the different locations on the internet, all in one place. Opare says it has been a learning process since he began in 2015.
A lot of people haven't really supported the idea that a 19-year-old can create a video search engine that will really matter in the world. I've met people who have told me that if there's a YouTube, then why would they ever need to use MadClaw? That is very discouraging. But I believe that these are criticisms that are very constructive. I believe that my business is good enough and that it can scale globally. But that is not to say that I am closing my eyes to the faults of my business yet. It is a legitimate point to say that YouTube is a video hosting website. There are lots of videos there, and Matlo is also there are lots of videos on Matlo as well. But they are two different entities. While YouTube is a video hosting website, Matlo combines the power of YouTube and two other video hosting websites in order to create Matlo.
Now, Gabriel is currently a full-time student of sociology at the University of Ghana.
Hey family, Frank King, CEO of AfroTotal, where we're building the first search engine in GPT that the African diaspora actually owns and controls, including our data. Did you know that Google's parent company made $307 billion last year? And how much of that was from your searches? And how much did our community receive? That is where AfroTotal is different. Every time you use our platform and search, you're helping to fund Black businesses, scholarships, and community programs. So AfroTotal is more than just a search engine. It's an actual economic engine for our community.
Africa just launched its own internet. The digital colonialism era is ending and big tech is panicking, y'all. Africa launches its own internet. Hear me again. Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, which is also known as MAGA, they're panicking. They some panicking. So Africa countries directly creating a continental digital highway of fiber optic cables, data centers, and internet exchange points to keep internet traffic local. This initiative launched early September 2025 and aims to significantly reduce latency and cost by eliminating the need for data to travel through overseas servers. Hear that? Overseas, that's the Western Europeans and Americans. Thereby fostering local innovation and reducing foreign dependency and promoting digital and economic sovereignty for Africa. Direct connectivity, local data movement, infrastructure. Africa spends more than $50 billion annually on foreign digital services. With CIX, that money can increasingly flow into local apps, search engines, and cloud platforms, many tailored to Africa's 2,000 plus languages and diverse cultures. Hey, let that sink in.
This emergency for technology to advance and switcheroo of all this technology going on fits right into the system of what this world is headed for. Now, the principal just had a full dinner at the White House for all the U.S. tech leaders and giants in the world. Mark Zuckerberg was right on the side of him, looking goofy like he do. You had Bill Gates, a bunch of world leaders who run our tech. Okay. This happened on Thursday, September the 4th, and it was in the evening. What was interesting is it was 33 Silicon Valley leaders. Keyword, key number, 33. Those who don't know, those who get it, get it. What they calling it was an AI education summit. What's all of this education about? A lot of weird stuff with Silicon Valley. Just like that man, he having a whole situationship, a whole meeting teaching about the AC. What is going on with all this? Now y'all having a whole AI summit and all this stuff. It's a lot of weird stuff going on, y'all. That wasn't it for me. What was it for me was that Mr. Bill Gates, he started talking about vaccines. And then he talked about gene editing. Now, you have to understand with gene editing, the only thing that comes to my head is erasing. I can't go there on here. Let me finish telling y'all what the man said. I can't, those who know where I was going with that, you know. He talked about how gene editing and vaccine and how there was a goal to basically to make an innovation to the next level of curing diseases and things of that nature. So we have to understand that that's the same thing Elante Dante Reeves was talking about, the same stuff. And that's why he created Neuralink to help people with their life and with health. Now, he's saying to take the goal for America for more innovation. Now, it ain't that much innovation in the world. I can't even go where I want to go with this. Meanwhile, y'all, Africa decided they gonna create their own internet. 1.4 billion of the communities in Africa, they just went offline from Google. And why you say? This is very interesting. Africa has launched their own internet. The continent is called the Continental Internet Exchange. Now, the reason why everybody's up in arms, and I just thought this was so strange, is because it's basically bypassing Western control. Catch it. It is a threat to our digital infrastructure that basically powers the modern economy. So now you have Africa. The Bible is true. The last will be first and the first shall be last. That's all I'm going to say. Basically, the infrastructure of Google, what this means is it literally rivals the Western system. I'm going to tell you how. They're saying that the software is very mature and that not only that, it's revolutionary. And why do you say? Because number one, it's competing with its entire Google ecosystem. They built their own email system, iCloud per se, storage, and video platform. They even taking a coin. They even got their own advertising network. And this is basically every service that Google has to offer. So this is definitely revolutionary, and we see a split off of how the world is kind of splitting off, and the fall of Babylon is coming into fruition, and we have to understand what has to rise to power. So these things has to happen. There has to be some type of divide to bring together. If you know what I'm saying, you get it. Now Babylon is getting ready to fall. It's already falling, but not only that, there's other things that has to arise to the occasion. There's things that has to come on the scene. There has to be one world. Y'all know the rest, okay? I can't say no more because I want to say a lot about this. It makes me giggle. It makes me laugh on the inside of what we're seeing taking place and what's happening. But, child. So that's why they was sitting up there having that meeting in that big old house like that. I was like, what is going on? Why is they having this meeting? I see why y'all having that meeting. Y'all had to have that meeting. They conspire.
Now, that's a laudable development. I want Africans to stand on it, and I want Africans to detach themselves from internet monopolization of the West, right? Because just like I said, for the longest time, Africans were not given the full access to the internet, right? You cannot just go on the internet and do what you're expected to do without the authorization of Google, Microsoft, and the rest of these mega tech companies, right? So I'm so happy that Africans are now decentralizing themselves from the global internet. Now we can have a thing of our own which we have, total control over, right? It's a good thing, and I think it's going to open more doors for Africans, especially in terms of monetization, in terms of putting the right information for the rest of the world to see. Because just like I said in several of my videos, I said because of the monopolization of the Western media, a lot of African information are being stereotyped in the sense that they do not showcase Africa in its true purest sense, right? Because everything is usually connoted to a continent full of evil, hunger, and other bad stuff that they usually portray. So I'm happy that Africans have literally left the global internet, and to me it's a way forward in the right direction, especially when we want to build Africa as an entity of power where its people will depend on what they can offer for themselves, not depending on the Western world to give them all of those good stuff. So guys, what do you think about this new development? Please share your thoughts in the comments. And guys, if you have come this far in this video, please do me the honor and hit on the subscribe button, hit on the like button, hit on the share button, and also hit on the notification bell in order not to miss any of my videos. See you in the next one. Have a blessed day.